So we're gonna talk about in the beginning. And we're gonna look at in the beginning. Time, space, and matter. When we look at specifically matter, mother, actually I'm gonna use this one. This is primarily the trifocal point. So when we look at matter, mother, metrics, matrix, what are we talking about? We're talking about the material realm, the material earth, the womb, the ovaries, all of these different things, right? So when we look at the beginning and the creation of time, space, and matter, it is composed of time, space, and matter. Matter, energy. The universe is a continuum of matter that turns into energy, and energy that turns into matter in a cycle, in a space continuum, as some say. From the way our logical minds work, we are led to think that matter, energy is somehow the content of the universe, while space and time are respectively the place and the moment when matter changes into energy and vice versa. This is the universe and is composed of an active matter energy element. So when we look at this relationship with time, space, and matter, in the books of the Apocrypha, the Wisdom of Solomon, it speaks of this as a female, a woman, wisdom, right? And so when we look at wisdom, Proverbs, the 8th chapter, is an important chapter. So it says in the book of Proverbs, do not wisdom cry. Do not wisdom cry, and understanding put forth her voice. She standeth in the top of the high places, by the way, in the places of the paths. She crieth at the gates, at the entry of the city, at the coming in at the doors. Unto you, O man, I call, and my voice is to the sons of man. O ye simple, understand wisdom, and ye fools, be ye of an understanding heart. Hear, for I shall speak of excellent things, and the opening of my lips shall be right things. Hallelujah. For my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing forward or perverse in them. They are plain to him that understandeth, and the right to them that findeth knowledge. Receive my instruction, and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. This is why they say wisdom is better than precious jewels, even gold or even rubies. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all things that may be desired not to be compared to it or her. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and find out knowledge of witty inventions. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil. pride. I'm going to read that again. Because this specifically, right? The fear of the Lord is to hate. I'm going to say that again. The fear of the Lord, capital, capping, all caps, is to what? To hate evil, pride, and arrogancy, and the evil way, and the forward mouth do I hate. All right? So this is the fear of the Lord. Counsel is mine, and sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. By me kings reign, and princes decree justice. By me princes rule, and nobles, even all the judges of the earth. I love them that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me. Riches and honor are with me, yea, durable riches and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, yea, than fine gold, and my revenue than the choicest silver. I lead in the way of righteousness, and the mindset the path of judgment, that may cause those that love me to inherit substance, and I will find their treasures. So, when we look at time, space, matter, this continuum, and the beginnings, we're talking about creation. And when we look at time, space, matter, and creation, we're talking about matter, we're talking about mother, the matrix, the metrics of the earth, the material realm. And so when we look at space, or this area of this invention of space, the beginning, when we look at time in its sense, there is no time without the space of A and B to create the timeline of events of matter. So when we look at this relationship of time, history, and why we read text and why we research and seek knowledge and wisdom, it is because of this time, space, and matter continuum. And when we look at the beginnings, the book of the beginnings, it says here, when we think of these beginnings, in Proverbs 8:22, it says, the Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. And what we're talking about here is this timing, this beginning of timing, the time of Genesis, or the genesis of all beginning, the formation of all life. And when we look at the process of life, whether it is the thought that leads to the act of creation, when we're talking about sex and pride, family, structure, order, light, these things will follow these same patterns and of the beginnings of how when wisdom was possessed in the beginnings of his way before his works. So when we look at timing and the right time, the good time, this is what history essentially, and why our texts are essential to see what took place with matter in this continuum during a certain time. And so when we look at this time, we're dealing with the beginnings of this abstract sense of what time is. This duration, this recording of existence of matter from things of trees, rocks, different elements that hold their mineral compounds that give evidence of how long potentially this matter has existed in the time space metrics continuum. So this is where metrics, matter, and the material realm and the measuring of matter comes into existence. So when we look at the wisdom that was possessed in the beginning, it says, I was set up from an everlasting, from the beginning or ever the earth was. From the beginning or ever the earth was. When there was no depths, I was brought forth. And this is where the mind and the concept of man and the mind, we understand the mother, the material that gives birth or is the source of man. This is how when we look at timing, man, months, and how these all come from the source, which is mother, matter, material, matrix, the metrics, the measurements of wholeness. We're talking about the whole earth, universally. It says, when there was no depths, I was brought forth. When there was no fountains abounding with water, before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth, while as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest parts of the dust of the world. Talking about the cosmos, the cosmic realms. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. Knowledge and wisdom was there in the beginning. So do we understand this time, space, and matter and this relationship, this Trinity? When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth. When he established the clouds above. When he strengthened the fountains of the deep. When he gave the sea his decree that the water should not pass his commandment. So when we look at this here, when he gave to the sea his decree, this is going over the recordings of things that had taken place from the beginning to a particular time of when Proverbs has been written. So what we're looking at is when he gave to the sea his decree. We're talking about before the floods and during the time of the floods, that the bounds would be set in the earth. The coast would be set, the beautiful for situations would be set, that the water should not pass his commandment when he appointed the foundations of the earth. Then I was by him. It's talking about knowledge, wisdom, instruction, the fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord was there from the beginnings. The fear of the Lord was by him and brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. Rejoicing in the habitable part of his earth, and my delights were with the sons of men. Just explaining the process of wisdom and instruction and how men have benefited from the knowledge and wisdom from the beginning of the earth's foundations up into modern time, or to time of this writing of the book of Proverbs. Rejoicing in the habitable part of his earth, and my delights were with the sons of men. Now therefore hearken unto me, O ye children, or bless, for blessed are they that keep my ways. Hear instruction, and be wise, and refuse not. Blessed is the man that heareth me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the post of my door. So I'm talking about the watchmen, and how the forming of calendars of this time, space, and matter would form the feasts, would form the actions, the behaviors that one would need to take place within the earth to sustain and create the sustainability of what we would call culture, cultivation, growing from the heavens, understanding the movement of the heavens based upon this observation, being stationary, being in the capacity to have your minds and affections on nature, not concerned with commercial profits or commercial needs. When you understand, blessed is the man that heareth me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the post of my doors, to understand the movements of the earth, to understand when to plant seed, when to harvest, when to do these things. When we look at May, the May months of the different full moons, where you look at certain fruits, when we look at the time of Pentecost, the different fruits, the feast days, Pentecost, which come in regards to the harvesting of fruit. And when we look at this, In this particular time that we're currently in, we look at the production of watermelon and the different fruits here, the strawberries. For this particular time coming into June, the full moon, we're talking about the strawberry moon. We just had the Mayflower moon. We understand the effects of the Mayflowers, the budding of the flowers during this particular time of May, and the fruits that will come from this full moon as we get closer to the summer, when the sun comes into the north gate. So this is why understanding the gates, understanding the wisdom, the knowledge, the different doorposts, the cross. You know what I'm saying? When we talk about the gate, the cross, as marks the spot, we're talking about the seasons. And when we look at the summer, spring, summer, fall, winter, and we look at the summer, this particular time is known as when the sun comes into its northern tropic, or not the northern leg, the North Tropic, which is looked at as the high point, the peak of the sun, coming into summer, when we start to see the melting of the core ice caps and the runoff as we come into fall with the flooding. This is where the Haliic flooding and all of these things connect with the festivities of the mother sun, Tammuz. When you look at the particular time of June and July, when you look at the twins of the Gemini, connecting with January, Juno, Janus. We're talking about Janus, right? Janus and Juno. I don't gotta write that out, but when we look at the twins, Janus and Juno, the winter and summer solstice, and how around this time of the strawberry moon, many other terms are used for this full moon in June, which is either the last full moon of the spring or the first full moon of the summer. When we look at the significances of the gates and the observations of what we was looking at here in Proverbs 8, blessed is the man that heareth me watching daily at my gates, waiting at my posts and my doors. For whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favor of the Lord. So when we look at the gates, the Ursa Minor and Major, the star systems, the Great Bear, and how these star systems have been essential in the growth and the cultivation as above, so below. When we understand how these benefits and symbolism in the first writings, when we look at the petroglyphs here in the heartlands of America, Arizona, Utah, we'll find these petroglyphs with this writing, with these stones that are doing these exact calculations of time. Some even with ancient Hebrew written on them, as the Lost Lunar Stone, which also has a portion of this Lost Lunar Stone that's actual a calendar, an observation of the gates of heaven, as this is part of the culture of the Bible. We understand the cultivation of agriculture and the understanding of wisdom, the wisdom of Solomon, wisdom in general, and how the wisdom and the fear of the Lord and these things were personified to this day, that we still look at the earth as Mother Nature in these different terms. So when we look at some of the ancient civilizations and how they viewed women and honored women in their sacredness, because the same components or the same functionary principle of fertility was the embodiment of the woman. We understand the ovaries, the eggs, the fertility, the matrix, the measurement, and the process of birth, when a mother would give birth to her son, that crowning process that begins life. This is the same ideology principle of the birthing, the crowning, the budding of fruit during this particular time of May. When we look at Mother May, the mother, June, the Gemini, and the connection with Cancer, Tammuz, the summer solstice, the Halic rising, and the flood, the Great Flood, which would occur annually, in a sense to let the people know that they were in accordance with nature, they were aligned. So the flooding of that which took place because of this magnetism of the earth and the solar movement on this, what the ancients saw as a solar boat, which helped give them the knowledge and how to navigate the seven seas. When we look at this from this component and its navigation principles, the woman, and how how the process of birth and the movement throughout the earth have all been related with time. So this is why time calendars, the forming of these calendars, especially during this time of the first fruits, the month of May going into June and July, the summer, the apex of the sun reaching its peak before its fall into death. This is how the mysticisms of time affect the matter and of the material mind. So when we look at certain things that are celebrated in time and in season, the season to be jolly, or the season's greetings, and understand the watching of the gates and what we're reading earlier about wisdom and matter. So when we look at matter, mother, it says, but he that sinned against me wrongeth his own soul. Right? Because you're going against the source of the nurturing mother, your alma mater. He that sinned against me wrongeth his own soul, and all that hate me love death. You understand that? To love death and to hate creation. When we look at the things that bring about death, that are part of the pride, that people are prideful about, is when they don't understand this procreation, and they don't understand how vaccines and injecting certain chemicals in your body help create death in the body, to where the body does not create life, infertility, infertile. So we're talking about he that sinned against me wrongeth his own soul, and all that hate me love death. They hate creation. They hate the mother and father coming together to form child. So when we look at the beginning, the mother, son, time, space, and matter in this continuum of energy, when we look at whether it's Mother Nature, Mother Earth, your mother tongue, your mother country, where you're native to, your understanding, because where you're born in this whole earth within can shape how you, because of your timing within the earth, your pronunciations of certain words and sounds, because of the air, because of many different scientific things dealing with territory, right? We can see now into this day that people that live on the West Coast don't speak the same way as those that live on the East Coast. What is that about? What changes in the sound of vernacular words that have an effect depending on territory? So when you look at mother tongue, mother language, where you're born, in its relation to the earth, all of these things play a role and play a dynamic. Right? There's a reason why Hollywood is in the west coast of California. There's a reason. When you look up the location, the GPS of Hollywood in this area, everything has a purpose and has a reason. So we look at in the beginnings, when we talk about the mother, creation, time, space, and matter,